Hello and welcome to another edition of Unrendered on IKTV. I'm Tony Regisford, and my guest on this edition is Mr. Camillo Gonsalves, the Honorable Camillo Gonsalves, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, among other ministries. Camillo, welcome to Unrendered.
Thank you, Tony.
And
Good to be here.
I greet you with all these headlines in the newspaper. The Vincentian carries this one: consulate scandal rocks Vincentian community in the U.S. Diplomat money scam, as reported by the news.
Yes.
And green card scam, as reported by the Searchlight.
Yes.
Of course, social media is ablaze with all sorts of speculations.
Many more creative reports than those.
Precisely. But I've got the horse with me in a metaphorical sense.
Yes.
And I'm going to hear it from the horse's mouth. Tell me, to quote the reason for recalling this man, it says that he was involved in activities inimical to the consulate, right? What has he done that could damage or, bring the Vincentian reputation into disrepute?
Well, before I say what he's done, and I will say what he's done, I want to say what he has not done. Because you mentioned that there are a number of headlines in the newspapers and that there's a great deal of speculation, not only on the internet, but in the bars and taverns and also in New York itself, where Mr. Augustus was previously assigned. So let me say this unequivocally. Mr. Augustus was not involved in selling green cards.
So that was one of the allegations.
That was one of the allegations.
Green cards. How do we know this? How do we know this?
Well, the reason we know this is because we cannot sell green cards. The United States does not assign us green cards that we have in a drawer somewhere, that someone can come in and give us money for green cards. There's a process controlled by the State Department, by the Department of Homeland Affairs in the United States that governs the issuing of green cards. Right. So there is absolutely no way that anybody could sell a green card.
But couldn't he give people the impression, though, that, listen, come to me and I could get you a green card?
Well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that, because that touches and concerns more what we do know. Okay. But I want to say first what we know he did not do. Right. Mr. Augustus, nor no one else, sold any Vincentian passports. Again, just like green cards, he has no access to Vincentian passports. The process for acquiring a passport, if you are in the diaspora, if you're in New York or Canada or London anywhere, you go there to the consulate or the High Commission and they process your application, but they do not issue the passport. They don't have any passports in those offices. So what happens is you come with your birth certificate, with your photographs, you complete your application, you pay your fee, you give your other supporting documents. They are processed there and sent down to the capital, where they are further scrutinized by immigration here before the decision is taken to either give or not give a passport.
So what if, and I know we're going to come back and break this down point by point, but what if, you explain the process, what if Mr. Augustus, in fact, was not acting alone? Let's assume that he was trying to find some way of selling passports.
Yes.
Okay? Yes. And clearly with that process, he could not be acting alone if he was doing that.
Impossible.
Right? Yes. So I accept that. It's not that you have a passport in a drawer where he just pulls out, affixes your photograph, signs and stamps and all that. He couldn't do that. Right? But what if he was able to get other people involved, along the different steps of this process? Yes. Have we cleared that is not something that has happened?
Look, and yes, the answer is yes, we have cleared that. Mr. Augustus was not acting in concert with any other member of the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, nor was he acting in concert with any member of our immigration or police force. We have cleared that. Mr. Augustus, and we're currently looking at the number of applications for passports. There's an investigation underway, but what we can say for sure is that Mr. Augustus was not acting in concert with anybody. We have no evidence of that whatsoever. And the conspiracy that you are suggesting with that hypothetical would be such a massive conspiracy, because it is not a single person that deals with the passports.
So there are many people along the line of the process.
It would have to go almost to the level of the Commissioner of Police. It would have to be a large number of persons because the safeguards that have been put in place to make our passports more secure, and the Prime Minister has discussed this on many occasions, are such that it's not an instance that any one individual can issue a passport. So not only would it involve Mr. Augustus, but it would involve a number of people.
Almost leading to the chief of police.
Almost leading to the top. And we are confident that that is not the case.
So, and I want to speak unstuck on this.
Yes.
But the allegation, and I'm dealing with these as they come up.
Yes.
Because I've also gone on social media.
Yes.
The allegation that Iranians, to be specific, were sold passports.
Is a complete falsehood. Is a complete falsehood. You know, I go on social media, and in fact, I contacted our Minister of Culture, and I said, we have a lot of frustrated creative writers and novelists who seem to be out there creating sagas and scams and fanciful tales that have absolutely no basis in reality. Mr. Augustus, nor anyone else sold, acquired on behalf of, fast-tracked any passport for anybody, much less Iranians. It has not happened. There is no evidence of it, and there will be no evidence of it because it is a blatant untruth. The desire to sensationalize what has been an unfortunate incident almost makes the actual fact seem less worthy of recall. I mean, there is no selling of any passport to anyone. There is no collusion with Iranians or Syrians or Al-Qaeda or Afghanistan. It is a blatant untruth. It never happened.
So, okay, so he could not have been issuing green cards.
No.
Because he doesn't have them to issue.
Yes.
He could have been involved in a scam, though, that says, I have green cards to issue. The passport one, you say, seems even more far-fetched because that would have involved a lot of people.
It would have been a massive conspiracy.
So it would have been a massive conspiracy. Yes. Could he have been, at the same time, knowing that he could not deliver, could he have been giving people the impression that I can get you a Vincentian passport?
Well,
could that have been another scam?
Well, let me tell you what we do know. Because we have done some looking into what happened. First, let me tell you the process.
Okay.
Because people are saying that the government has taken a long time to respond and that they've left people in the dark, and it is because of this that speculation has run rampant.
So on IKTV, you're breaking the ice? I'm
breaking the ice on IKTV,
Very
yes.
Good.
On Wednesday, I was overseas in the British Virgin Islands. I received reports on Wednesday evening last week that there was something untoward with Mr. Augustus.
So this was Wednesday?
Wednesday of last week.
And that's while you were away?
Yes, while I was away. On Thursday, I began to make calls on Wednesday night, but on Thursday, I began to get some more information. A lot of it at that time, allegations, rumor, hearsay, and all the rest of it. But enough smoke that I thought maybe there was a fire somewhere.
Right.
On Friday, I received confirmation of at least some of the claims that had been made against Mr. Augustus and took the decision that Friday to recall Mr. Augustus.
What were these claims?
Right. What we know is that Mr. Augustus was holding himself out to members of the Vincentian diaspora in New York whose immigration status is not regularized,
right,
who are out of status or don't have regular status for one reason or the other. He was holding himself out to them as being able to expedite the process by which they could regularize their status and get a green card. So he was suggesting to people that for a fee, he could either help them jump the queue to get a green card, or he could help them somehow navigate the labyrinth and get a green card.
Let me ask you a question, and I want you to expand, but
yes,
just at this point, was he acting in the capacity of the deputy consul. In other words, was he wearing the hat of the office and saying, not me, Augustus, could do this, but the office could do this?
I think, from what I've heard, and from what I've known, he did not ever explicitly say that it is the Consulate General of St. Vincent and the Grenadines that is going to do this for you.
Right.
However, he did it clothed in his authority as the Deputy Consul General of St. Vincent.
So people would think he's more credible.
So people would have made the assumption that because of this connection, especially vulnerable people in the diaspora, especially people who may be somewhat desperate because their immigration situation, for one reason or the other, is not what they would like it to be.
That's a continuum anyway. You know, that has been that way from time immemorial, and people get scammed like that. But it's a problem when it comes from.
It's a problem when it comes from someone who's an employee of the Foreign Service. Now, what we know for sure is that no money exchanged hands. Well, what we know to date. Let me not say what we know for sure. But what we know to date is that of the cases we are aware of, no money exchanged hands at the office of the consulate. People came to his private residence and money was paid to him to either expedite or facilitate this process towards getting a green card.
Do you know if he was using any office stationery material to make this thing look solid? Was he issuing a receipt?
He was issuing, no one that we have spoken to, and this is the other issue, why the investigation is ongoing, is that people who may have irregular status in the United States are unwilling to talk on the record very often.
Right.
And unwilling to provide written information and written statements and so on, given their own vulnerabilities. But the people that we've spoken to who are willing to speak on the record have indicated that they didn't receive any receipt or any official documentation from Mr. Augustus indicating that the consulate was officially involved in any way. But again, he's clothed in the authority of the consulate.
Okay, we're at the end of our first segment. Let's hold it there. When we come back, we'll pick up on, like you said, what you do know that Mr. Augustus was doing. So let's pick it back when we come back. This is Unrendered on IKTV. My guest is the Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Honorable Camillo Gonsalves. More when we come back.